If you're in construction, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Constructive Behaviors podcast. I'm your host, Barb Allen. I'm a woman with decades of experience in the construction industry, and most of it on the job site. I know how rewarding this industry can be. But like you, I also know that we could improve. Let's work together to make changes from the inside out. My guest today knew in high school that she wanted to be in construction. She just didn't know where to start. A conversation with her high school guidance counselor made it clear that the counselor didn't know either. And her parents, although big supporters of her, they were not excited about the idea of her going into construction. But here we are 8 years later. Taylor Beeman has earned her degree in construction management, a carpenter's journeyman card, the full support of her parents, and is moving her way up the ladder to superintendent at J. Dunn Construction. What changed? And what can we do to make the discovery, the path, and the support more easily accessible for high school kids that would truly love this industry? That is what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Taylor.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell everybody how you got interested in the construction industry anyway, because neither of your parents are construction. Full disclosure, I have met your parents 8 years ago when this whole relationship started. Mom is was a high school teacher, just like my mom, and dad was chief of the fire department at Lee Summit. So not construction related. How did you even get interested?
So it started back in middle school. I did not play a music instrument, and I didn't take art class. So what that meant is that I had to take shop class, and I was actually really upset about it. I was nervous. That was the boys' class. At that time, boys still had cooties, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I remember telling my mom, she's like, "It'll be fine. You just got to take it just this 1 year, and it'll be fine." And I took it, and I absolutely loved it. I had an amazing, amazing shop teacher in middle school who just really dove into everything head first with what he did. He was very passionate about it. And we did a lot of cool projects. So after that year, when I went to high school, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take another shop class. Still at that point, wasn't really thinking anything about it. And then I just started taking shop class every year after that, just because I loved it. And then senior year rolled around, and I actually had the option to graduate high school early, or do like a half day work study type of thing. And I didn't want to graduate early because, one, my friends were still in school and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I chose to do the work study. I worked as a secretary actually at my mom's school for half the day. And then I went back and I took an English class. And then the rest of my day was shop class. And I was in the shop room all day, or half a day. And I loved it. I loved being in there. I loved being around just all the different projects and all the different equipment and tools and having the ability to do all that. So then when the discussion started happening about, okay, well, what are you going to do when you graduate? And I was like, well, I have no idea. And then it turned into, well, I'm going to be a carpenter. And like you said, I have no family in construction. So to me at that time, what that meant was, oh, I'm just going to build furniture. Like that's what a carpenter does. That's what I do in shop class. So that's what I'm going to do.
Let me ask you a question. So when you started in shop class in middle school, what did they have you doing? I mean, I've never been in shop class because I never felt like it was an opportunity for me or something. I probably felt the same way you did, except I did play a musical instrument and I was in choir. So there wasn't another elective I got to take. But what did you learn in shop class in middle school? Kind of walk us through middle school and high school. Like what did you learn in shop class?
Yeah. So middle school started out really simple. I mean, like day one, they were teaching us, how to read a tape measure and then like the names of different tools and equipment they had in the shop so we could just be familiar with it. Because at that point it was nice because I felt like I was kind of on a level playing field. It seemed like all the other kids in there too didn't know how to read a tape measure or what the tools were. So I didn't feel that like nervousness of, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that doesn't know this, which was really
That's
helpful.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I know we built like a coat rack, so like a little shelf with 3 hooks. So we got to use like a planer and plane the top of our shelf, and then we got to use a router and round our edges and things like that. And then towards the end, like our most complicated project in middle school, we did a like CO2 derby car. So that was really neat. We did that. We got to build them, and then we got to race them and see who won. And then in in high school, we transitioned more into like the lathe. So we did a stool. We all built a wooden stool. I got to use the lathe to do our legs and things like that. We were really lucky too. They had a welding booth in there, so we learned how to weld. So we did a project, which actually was another coat hook, but this time we welded everything for it. And then from there, like when I was in my senior year and had half the day, my shop teachers were absolutely awesome, and they pretty much let me do whatever I wanted. So there was like well, it's actually one of my dad's friends lived out on some land, and he had a big oak tree that fell down. And so we went out there and got it, and I cut it in half and used, the planer and the lathe and everything like that, and made a big bookshelf out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, what, at least up until the time you graduated high school, what's your favorite power tool?
I would say the lathe for sure.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it's so fun. And I
is.
honestly never used a lathe until maybe 5 years ago. I just took a random woodworking class, and I immediately was like, okay, I want to buy one of these. I want to set it
Yeah.
up in my basement. I was like, I love this tool. And of course I
Yeah.
haven't gotten around to do it, but I have taken more classes, and each time I'm just like, I love this tool.
Yes, it's so great. I remember actually being in high school, I asked my parents one Christmas for a lathe.
And did they get it for you?
No, they did not.
Okay, so let's circle back. That's a perfect lead into, okay, you're thinking people that you're started to be, gosh, Barb, trip over your tongue a little. Your parents are starting to say, what are you going to do after college? Tell us how those conversations were going as you're thinking, oh, I want to be a carpenter. How was that conversation happening with your parents?
It wasn't a conversation. Like you said, my mom, she's been in education her whole life. It's something that's very important to her that, her daughters continue their education, got a good job for themselves, could, support themselves. So for her, it was really important that I did go to college, and have a degree. My dad, he was, on the same page of that as well as, if my dad's a little old fashioned. So I think in his mind, as a woman, you needed a degree to have a good, successful job. And so when I told him I was going to be a construction worker, that wasn't even an option. He definitely against that. And it didn't help that neither one of them were in construction. They truly just didn't know. They only knew the stereotypes. They didn't think that I would make good money. They also didn't know what I would be doing. Like, we didn't realize there was like what the commercial realm of it is, or, they just thought I was going to get, stuck, essentially building furniture and not making money, and it wouldn't work out. And then I'd be back in their basement.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So for a long time, I don't think it really was a conversation. It was more me bringing it up and then being like, yeah, that's not going to work. Or it could be like a side hobby. You could do it, on your days off from whatever actual job you pick. They wanted me to go more of the traditional route of like a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer, something of that nature, which were things that I, had interest in. I actually, for the longest time, said I was either going to be a teacher or an author. That's obviously not at all what I am now. So they aligned, but they were very nervous. I think also it was because it's not a traditional female role or job, and that freaked them out too.
So what prompted you to have the conversation with your guidance counselor? Did the school make you have those conversations, or were you like, I'm drowning here with my parents, where else can I get some info?
A little bit of both. So I didn't really know where to go other than my parents because I didn't know. And then our school ended up doing, I think they called it maybe career day. I don't remember the exact name, but basically they gave the seniors the option of either going to a college and like touring the college and learning about whatever education program they wanted to do, or they could do like a job shadowing experience. And that's kind of where I started with my counselor of, I'd been on some college tours, and at that point I wasn't against going to college, but I just didn't think that I could with what I wanted to do. So I went to my guidance counselor and asked actually if there was anybody that I could job shadow that was a construction worker. And she said no, that there was no one that they knew of that I could go do that with. So that's when she helped me actually find Barb by Googling, females in construction in Kansas City. And then Barb's name popped up, and sent her an email basically like, help me. I have no idea what I'm doing, or what I'm going to end up doing.
What were you hoping would come out of that email?
A response. I actually didn't think you would respond. I had no idea. I don't know. I don't remember everything I put in the email, but I'm pretty sure that I kind of just put it all out there and was like, I think this is what I want to do. I don't know what it is. My parents aren't on board with it. So I don't know what to do. I don't know where my next steps are. Um, and it was awesome. I mean, you obviously replied, you brought me down to, where you worked, showed me different job sites. You explained that I could go to college for a degree with it. And then explained that it wasn't just building furniture. And it was awesome. It couldn't have worked out any better.
Well, and what I love about that, other than that we got to meet and have this relationship, is that you didn't know, you weren't sure that I would even respond. And for you to know, you probably would feel this way now if someone were to email you. But what I was feeling on the other side of that email, like as soon as I remember where I was sitting when I read the email, I remember getting chills and going, yes, 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 yes. How can I help her? How can I help her? How can we connect? What can we do? When can I bring her in? Like I was so excited. And I just want anyone listening to know that we want to share what we do. We want to show you all the opportunities. And when I heard you saying you wanted to be a carpenter, and I completely supported if you wanted to be a carpenter, but I wanted you to know the other things that were available out there too. I wanted you to understand the whole spectrum, because I sure as shit didn't know the whole spectrum when I was even a junior in college, much less a senior in high school. And so I wanted to spend that day just giving you all of the information I possibly could. And I wasn't sure if I'd ever hear from you again after our day, but I was so excited that you did. You came and you shadowed for a day. And one of my favorite pieces of that day is when your dad picked you up.
Yeah.
And your dad, so people not watching this on YouTube, I refer to Taylor as my mini me, other than she has currently lightened her hair. What Taylor looks like now is what I looked like when I started in the industry. And what's funny is Taylor and I both went to Lee Summit High School. Granted, I went when there was only one high school, and I think there's now 4. And you went to Lee Summit North. Our parents had similar career. Like we had so much in common. It was just like this really weird mini me feeling. And I think, and I don't know about your dad, but I feel like your dad, like I remember standing in the lobby of Jay Dunn talking to your dad, and he was being very respectful. He was very nice, and he was trying to relay his concerns. And I remember saying, look at me. Your daughter looks exactly like I looked when I started, except my hair was curly. Like other than that, it's crazy. And I said, this is what I've been able to do. And I ran him through what my career looked like. And I just remember the look on his face kind of changing, like, okay, wait, we talk about how women need to see it to be it. But in this instance, your parents needed to see it to know that you could do it. Like, and it's not that your parents didn't believe in you. I mean, I've gotten to know your parents. You have full support of your parents, but this was something they didn't understand. They didn't have any experience in. And just kind of watching his body language and his facial expressions kind of alter, not like it all went away. All the scare didn't go away, but I could just feel him being like, okay, wait, I think this woman did actually do this.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the conversation was like on the way home?
Yes. Yeah, it's so funny. I remember when my dad was talking to you in the lobby, I remember one of the things he said was, well, there's no way that she could pick up a sheet of plywood. And you were like, yeah, there is. I do it. I was like, I love this woman. But no, yeah, the conversation going home, it was different. It was different than any conversation we had had prior to it. I was like full of energy at this point. I was super excited. I had learned, so much from spending that day with you. And I was really, really excited about it. I was pumped up. And I remember I could kind of see, like you said, a start change of, okay, well, there are other women that do it. There's all these benefits that he didn't know about or that we didn't know about, that come with it, and I think it started to kind of ease his mind of, okay, so maybe there is a career here and maybe there is, opportunities for me, which was exciting.
When you just said these benefits that you guys didn't know existed, what would you
Mhm.
say some of those are?
So in the big picture wise, the money, we didn't realize that there was a good amount of money to be made in
Right.
construction. Um, the
It's
union,
always a nice surprise.
it is. Yeah. The union, we didn't realize, yeah, we didn't, I didn't at least realize that, there was so many benefits with being a union carpenter, like retirement, health benefits, things like that. Um, or just the simple fact of if you get laid off, they're there to help you find your next job. It's not like you got to do it all on your own. So benefits like that. And then just benefits in general of it's a rewarding job. I mean, it's something that's really neat, and it's not just, you know, you built something and then that's it. It stays with you, it sticks with you, and it's stuff you're proud of.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's talk about your mom for a minute. So I then invited you to come to a NAWIC meeting. So as a
Hmm.
guest, so that you could just meet. I wanted you to meet other women and see
Yeah.
that, they don't all look like me and they don't all do what I do. I wanted you to really be exposed because a room full of women in NAWIC is not just women from the field. It's not just
Hmm.
women in project management. It's from sureties and bonds. It's from all these different aspects, construction law. That's what fills a room. And so you and your mom
Hmm.
came, and that's when I first met your mom. Do you remember how how did it affect your mom being in that room and being at that meeting?
I think on the way up there, I think we both were kind of nervous just because we didn't know what to expect. Obviously we didn't know what like the meeting was going to consist of, but more so just talking to the women. We had, no idea what to expect because we didn't realize, like you said, that it wasn't just that it was women from every aspect of the industry. We had no idea. And then I think when we got there, it was intimidating in a really good way. It was intimidating walking into a room that was filled with very powerful women. I mean, very powerful, very successful women. I mean, it was a really cool feeling, but it was also really overwhelming. It was like, oh my goodness, like this is crazy, but it's really cool. And I think that was something that my mom needed to see as well of, okay, this isn't, just like a bunch of guys and Taylor. It's getting there. There's women in this role.
Yeah. So when you left there, I'm gonna say I could be wrong. I want to say that was probably spring of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you ended up, I don't know that we had a lot of communication for a while after that. Next thing I know, you're in college. You're going to CMS, UCM, also
Yeah.
where I went to chase
Yeah.
construction management,
Mm-hmm.
wearing my UCM sweatshirt on the call today. But I'm pretty sure I wear this almost every day when I'm at home, probably to the new one. Anyway, um, what made you decide to go get your degree? And I mean, you didn't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
you decided that was the best path for you. And what
Mhm.
made you make that decision?
So there was a couple things. One was the fact that eventually I want to have kids. Um, and it made me a little bit nervous to not have my degree because at the time I didn't realize all of the great benefits that the union has if I would have not gone to college for that. But I was nervous to be 9 months pregnant. I thought I would be 9 months pregnant out there, swinging a hammer, and that made me nervous. So I liked the idea that I could go get my degree. I can still work in the field. I can still be a carpenter. And then when that time comes, when I'm 9 months pregnant, waddling around, I could be more in the office role or supervision role instead of having to be so physical on myself.
Right.
And then I also liked it going to college because it, I think, also helped ease my parents' mind that say none of this worked out and it all failed, that at least I would have a degree to fall back on, and to use sort of change in whatever direction that looked like, which was helpful.
When you were in college, in construction management, how many other young women were in the program at that time?
So when I first started in my first year, there was two women above me. They were, I think one was a sophomore, and one was a junior. And that was it, my first year. And then my second year, there was one freshman that came in behind me. And then my junior year, I think there was just two of us. But then my senior year, there was actually three women that joined that year. So I think when I was still a senior, there was close to five or six of us. So not very many, but it felt like a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've said before, when I started, and granted, I didn't have the freshman through senior experience like you did. I didn't join till my junior year, but when I joined, one had just left, and when I left, one was just joining. So I was the only one.
Right.
Did you feel a camaraderie with the other women? Did you not interact much with them because classes didn't overlap, or what was that dynamic?
A little bit of both. I think in the beginning, it was kind of this awkwardness. It was like, well, I mean, yeah, we're all here to get the same degree and do the same thing, but it just felt kind of weird because it wasn't like shop class in high school where I typically was the only woman. Um, it just felt a little different. I think we all kind of felt that, like, what are we supposed to talk about, or what are we supposed to, well, how do we introduce ourselves without being weird? But then as we got, more involved with like the different programs that our construction management group had, like we had some student organizations and stuff like that. And then it was more of like an organic interaction that way, then yes, we became pretty close. We definitely talked a lot more, helped each other out, when we had questions, things like that.
What about internships? So with me only joining my junior year, I only got one internship during college. How many internships did you get? What did you do? And how did that solidify for you what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I had two internships. Both of them were actually at Cerner. So my first summer I was doing concrete work and I loved it. That's still by far my absolute favorite thing to do. Uh,
Yeah.
it's so funny. I still remember being so green. I showed up my first day, not even realizing I had to wear high vis. Like, didn't even know that was a thing. Just because I didn't know. So there was definitely a lot of learning, and I would say that's probably my favorite internship, just because I did learn so much. Um, but it was great. I got to do concrete form work. So we did a lot of like elevator shaft work. We did a lot of footings and foundations because they were right at the beginning of the project. So it was really neat. I learned a lot. I worked with some really great guys, and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it. It was really hard work, but I loved it. I mean, it was just one of those things where you'd go home absolutely exhausted every day, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot, but I wanted to get back up and go every morning just because it was so rewarding. And it was one of those things where it was like, this is what I wanted to do, and I'm getting to do it. And then my second internship, I was still out at Cerner, but it had been a year, so they'd obviously made a lot of progress on the project, and I actually got to do an interior internship. So I looked at like backing and then casework, countertops, things like that, which was really neat. It was obviously a whole different thing I was getting to learn and see. And yeah, it was a great experience too.
Um, just so the audience knows, when you say
Mhm.
you worked at Cerner, it was actually building a Cerner campus for JE Dunn. You were working for JE
Correct.
on a Cerner campus, but it was the same project both summers because it was a couple-year project. Is there
Yes.
anybody on that job in particular that you feel like was really a great mentor or supporter that that you'd like to shout out or say like what they did that really, really made an impact on you?
Yeah. Yeah. So to start with, my superintendent, Jason Pruitt, he's actually my superintendent right now at the project I'm on, which is it's really cool.
Yep.
To kind of circle back, but he is awesome. I remember when I first started, he was walking me around, showing me around, and someone actually asked him if I was his daughter, which was hilarious to me. I think he got a little embarrassed. He wasn't sure necessarily how to, like respond at first, but it was funny. But no, he was awesome. He was always checking in with me. He was bringing me to, like, superintendent meetings and foreman's meetings, and just letting me like hear those experiences as well. But just, yeah, including me, making sure everything was going well, just really really involving me, which I felt like was a huge, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, he was very busy. The Cerner complex project was huge. It was massive. There was two different buildings going on at the exact same time. So he was busy, but he took the time to check in with an intern who may or may not have ended up working with, JD Dunn,
Yeah.
and made the time to make sure that I was getting what I wanted out of the internship, that I was involved, and that I liked it, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And the other one I would say would be Dave Steele. He is a journeyman carpenter. He is awesome. He is an amazing carpenter, very smart, very talented. And he was actually one of the first journeymen I ever worked with. And if anybody knows Dave Steele, this man does not stop. He goes a million miles an hour. He is always moving, always working. And I remember thinking that everybody was going to be like that. And I thought, there's no way I can do this. I can barely the guy. Um, so it's neat. I'm actually also working with him right now on the same project. So it's been neat to kind of come full circle to all that.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, and you got hired on after college with Jay Dunn to train to become a superintendent, and a similar path that I did. And we will do another episode on your path. I know you have an interview with Camille Finan on Remodel Your Life podcast that people can go look up and hear a lot of that. What you and I talked about really focusing on today is, what do you wish had been different for you as far as support for kids in high school to really learn
Mhm.
about these careers, and how to find them, how to be exposed to them, how to feel welcome to join them, how to talk about parent or how to help parents understand them? Like, talk about what you would have liked to have been different and how you think we can do that.
Mhm. Yeah, I do feel really blessed in the way that it worked out for me, because it definitely did. And I'm very grateful to have had you and your help and everything like that. Um, I do think it could have been a little easier. I think, definitely starting in schools. I know schools push really hard for, okay, after you graduate, you're going to go to college. But I think it's really important that they need to start focusing on, college isn't for everybody. College isn't the answer, and it's not the only option. Definitely promoting trade schools, and then not just promoting them, explaining how do you get into trade school? How do you apply? What does that look like? What does the actual apprenticeship look like? What happens after you do the trade school? Like, explaining that, so it's not so much of a guessing game or something that kids are like, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm not really gonna, you know, take the time to look into it, or I'm not gonna, ask because I don't know what it is and I have no idea where to start, type of deal. Um, and then I think too, for parents, mine had no idea about construction just because they don't their careers aren't in construction, they're not construction related, and then none of their family were. So I think it's important to realize, if you don't know, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. If you don't know anybody in it, or you don't know anything about it, that doesn't mean it's for a reason, or it's a bad, career. If you don't know, just look into it. Just, reach out to somebody who is in it, or look up things, because it, like I said, we learned so many good benefits about it that we just had no idea about. So looking into it, not just immediately shutting it down. Um, and then also being open to a career that may not always be a traditional path for your son, your daughter, whoever it is. Just being open to it, because you can be really successful regardless of whatever type of traditional role or career it is. And then I definitely think outreach from industry professionals like Barb, like myself, like anybody, to have that representation, but start at a younger age. Start, elementary, middle school, just so that used to hearing about it, that they know about it, they know it's an option, a career. And then they can see, oh yeah, like, there's a woman that looks like me that does it. This is something that I can do. It's not this stereotypical, really strong masculine guy out there, doing the job, and I don't look like that, or I don't fit that, so I can't do it. But just really getting involved with the community, with schools, talking to your kids or other kids about all the opportunities that are out there.
Well, and a minute ago you said starting at a younger age, and what I understood you to say at that time is, let's make sure kids as early as grade school know about these careers. But
Yep.
what I started thinking about is, the first person I mentored really was you, and I had been in my career, I had graduated from college 20 years
Mhm.
prior, and yet that was the first time for me. And so I think starting at a younger age or an earlier opportunity in our own careers to
Mhm.
become those mentors, to reach out, to say on LinkedIn, hey, I'm here if there are any parents out there
Yep.
whose kids are thinking of, because think about
Mhm.
LinkedIn, we are connected to a ton of people in the construction industry,
Mhm.
and each of us is connected to even more people that aren't in the construction industry, and they're seeing
Right.
our posts and just setting out there, hey, are you a parent whose kid's thinking about construction? And you're like, big X, no way, right?
Yep.
I'm here to answer your questions, or I can put you into contact with someone else. And it's
Mhm.
starting that involvement process in a mentorship or outreach
Mhm.
earlier in your career than I did, for sure. I think that's getting better, but I think that we could all be doing more for it. Um, as you know, recently I was approached by another teacher in the Lee Summit School District saying, "Hey, I've got a student
Mhm.
who wants construction, and their dad is not listening, like not interested.
Mhm.
Would you be willing to meet with them?" And I was thinking, man, and I did, and I met with them, and if this is 8 years after this same conversation happened with you. And this
Mhm.
is nothing against Lee Summit School District. This is just an example of an excellent school district
Mhm.
that still needs help with this. And the best ending of this story is that after the conversation with this student, I then reached back out to the school and said, who can I talk to? I would love to get in front of your guidance counselors. I would love to let them know, like, what this industry is really all about. And honestly, the person that I spoke to, their first response was, we've probably got some that aren't really open to it, but let me really think about. And you know I, I said, that's part of why I want to get in front of them myself. I want to walk into the room and then be surprised that this is the construction person that's walking in the room. This is what
Yeah.
they look like. But the other thing I said in the communication to them is, hey, maybe you should also know that kids graduating with a degree in construction right now are starting about $70,000. And when
Yeah.
I left my job a couple of years ago, I was making $250,000.
Right.
And the response I got was, I'm in the wrong career. And I'm like, come on over. Come on over to construction. Would love to
Yeah.
have you, although we need all of the teachers and
Mhm.
administrators. But I think sometimes they just need to know that. And so I did, within 2 days, I got an email from somebody at the top of the school district saying, hey, would love to have you come talk to our students about non-traditional careers. And I said, ooh, I have someone closer to their age I'd like to bring with me as well. And so you have agreed to do that. And it's
Yes.
just like, before, 8 years ago when we had that conversation, I didn't do my due diligence to reach back out to the school and say, how can I help even more students, right? And in 8 years, how many students have we maybe lost that could have loved construction or found it sooner, if I had? And so that's just going back to that encouragement to all of those construction professionals listening, just
Mhm.
letting, even if you just reach out to your own high school and say, hey, here's what I do, happy to be a resource. I mean,
Right.
that's an easy first step. And if they don't respond, they don't respond. But even if you help one, I mean, I look at your career and I'm just so thankful that you had the guidance counselor that said, let's Google, right?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know, but let's Google.
Mhm.
And that is that is having counselors that understand and really want kids to be able to be happy in what they want to do, not trying
Yeah.
to push them into the molds of
Yes.
what the norm is supposed to be like.
Hmm.
Um, okay, I'm looking here at my notes. Oh, this is a fun stat that I found the other day. And it varied on different websites that I looked at. But in 2024, there are going to be about 3.5 million kids graduating high school across the United States. 3.5 million kids.
That's a
And
lot.
how many of those will actually go into construction related? And that's architecture, that's engineering, that's
Mhm.
construction. How many of them will actually go into that? Um, and we need a big percentage of them. The amount of work that is out there, the labor shortage that we're experiencing and will
Yes.
continue to experience for the next few years, man, if we'd done a better job 4 years
Mhm.
ago, even, we would have gotten a bigger percent. But
Mhm.
people are asking, where do we get these people? 3.5 million graduating every year.
Yeah.
That's a big pool to reach out to. And it's not just it's not just one person doing something. We all have to do our part. So,
Yes.
okay, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I just think it's really important that, like you said, we reach out, we start young, even if it's something as simple as like, going to the elementary school and reading them a book about your job or about construction, just something small to start getting it in front of them so that they know. Um, and it really will help break this stereotype so people can actually think about it and not think, oh, well, I don't fit that mold.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any regrets?
No, not at all. I I truly don't think I would be happy if I did something else. I absolutely love my job, love where I'm at. I mean, sure, it's not always sunshine and roses. Some days suck, but every
Some days
job has
it's
those days.
-10.
Yeah, yes. But I wouldn't trade it. Like even on the days it sucks, there's nothing I would rather do.
Well, and when we first met, you were interested in carpentry and building cabinets.
Mhm.
Do you look back on that and wish that that's what you had done, or is that a side hobby for you now, or where are you on that?
It's so funny. So this project I'm on currently has been the first project that I've been able to do interior carpentry, other than my first internship, and it's been great because I've learned a lot. I mean, a lot. But and it's also super nice because I'm inside this winter, which is great. But no, I my true love, my true passion is definitely concrete and concrete formwork, which is so not anywhere close to building furniture or building cabinets. But it's funny, but it's one of those things that I think I got put outside my comfort zone and I realized I really loved it and I think it's great. I still like, building odds and end little stuff on the side and I don't do it near as much. But no, I love where I'm at.
Well, and just to wrap up, I want to say the project that you've been on for the last what year?
Uh-huh.
um, for the year is the KC Current Stadium, which is the first ever in the world soccer stadium being built for a female soccer team. And
Yeah.
that in itself is such a cool thing to be a part of just in KC, but you got to
Yes.
be on the project. You were
Mhm.
a four person on the project running column crews and before you got to go inside, right? You were running
Yeah.
column crews, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
This project's been really neat, not only for that reason, but it's the only project I've ever been on that I've seen this many women, whether that's our project managers that are on site every day, all the way to our, owners reps, to our owners, to our tradeswomen. There are so many tradeswomen
Yeah.
for every trade out there. It is so cool. I mean, it's really neat because most projects, you'll see a couple here and there, but there's so many, and it's really neat that everybody's really kind and it's been really neat to see more representation.
Well, and I think, and I don't even know if it was the city or if it was primarily ownership of the KC Current, but they had very high female participation, well, female and minority participation goals.
Yes.
And, I just look about the people that I know that have been on the job, and Jay Dunn, for example, their lead project manager on the job, Cassie, is a
Yes.
woman.
Yes.
Mark One is the electrician, and their lead project manager is Carrie, a woman.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's just been a really cool project to see that many women-owned businesses, women in leadership, women coming up in the trades on that project. And I feel like it's a way for women in construction and women in soccer to kind of combine. I mean, it's very different industries, but we have very similar have faced very similar struggles in getting taking our place, right? Or
Yeah.
so I just think the whole endeavor is super awesome. And I think it's so cool that you got to be part of it. And that's something you're absolutely never going to forget. So
Right.
okay, well, thank you so much for taking time to we are going to definitely have another interview where we talk more about your experience as you've climbed up the ladder from starting after college to on your journey to superintendent. And I know that you are about to start running your very first job on your own here in a few months. And so once that starts, we are going to set up another interview and we're going to see how that's going for you. So thank you for taking the time. Always love to see you. We'll talk soon. If you know someone that could benefit from this particular episode, then share it with them. Or if you want to continue to learn about the untapped and underutilized resources that will take your business to the next level, then follow the podcast. You don't want to miss an episode where we discuss what you needed to hear. And lastly, there is a link in the show notes that will allow you to reach out to me directly if you want to accelerate that learning curve. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.